Hello, true duelists. My name is Craig Fee, and welcome to the New Card Report, the video I make sometimes when there are far too many new cards for the regular update, and because I don't have faith in a 40-minute video. The ongoing release of new cards from Photon Hypernova continues, with plenty more lore cards. And as we approach the TCG release of Darkwing Blast, we've got some new TCG debut cards as well. Starting with our Darkwing Blast cards, we'll start with yet another hyped up spell card. Spellbound is a new quick play TCG exclusive card in the secret rare slot, whose effects make all face-up monsters the opponent currently controls unable to be tributed or used as the material for a fusion, synchro, exceeds, or link summon until the end of the turn. A weird mixture of gnome material and dimensional barrier of sorts, this is yet another spell card with a damn good effect that players are arguing is either great and broken or bad and downright useless, apparently. It is stronger than gnome material in that it hits all cards they control instead of just one monster, and it's stronger than dimensional barrier because it stops all forms of summons from the extra deck from happening, but only with the current board state. With any other monsters they summon after this card's activation, they can still use those as materials and still make any sort of play. Not to mention, this does not negate the effects of those monsters like Dimensional Barrier can. My guess? An expensive card at release, followed by a drop when it doesn't see play initially, followed by a spike when somebody sides it and it jumps back up again. Does have some funky artwork going on it though, so at the very least it'll look pretty in your binder, if nothing else. The other cards from Darkwing Blast aren't quite as interesting, unfortunately. Bayrock Dragon is a level 6 dragon whose effect lets you summon it from your hand when a monster you control or in your hand is destroyed by battle or card effect. And if it itself is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can target one other dinosaur and or rock monster in your grave and then summon them. Yes, that's right folks, Adamancipator Dinosaur decks just got a piece of support. What a fucking sentence. Salamander Catalyzer is a new level 4 fire attribute that visibly looks like a Pyro monster in every sense, and is of course therefore a Fiend type with support for Dark World. Konami. You can reveal this card and one Fiend monster in your hand to special summon one of the revealed monsters and then discard the other one. And when a monster is destroyed in battle by one of your Fiends while this card's in your grave, you can add it back to your hand. Or a recyclable discard turn after turn? That doesn't sound horrible, but I am by no means a Dark World player, so who knows, maybe I'm wrong and this card fucking sucks. Guess we'll find out when we get the TCG version of the Dark World structure deck, I suppose. The last new card revealed from Darkwing Blast thus far is Tilting Entrainment, a generic level 8 Synchro monster. If it's Synchro summoned, you can special summon a level 4 or lower Pendulum monster from your hand or face-up extra deck, and at the end of the damage step, if this card or one of your Pendulum monsters battled an opponent's monster and that monster was not destroyed by the battle, you can banish it. I don't know why this is Pendulum support, or why it's really just extension with a cute banish effect in the battle phase, but the name has tilting in it, and that is funny in and of itself to me. Put the opponent on tilt by summoning a purple poison magician and getting rid of 2 cards in one battle. That sounds pretty funny to me, just as long as we ignore the fact that the Pendulum Trap can do pretty much the same thing without wasting a battle phase. The last bit of news from Darkwing Blast is of course the imports, with the TCG getting imports of some of the new Amazona support from the OCG set Duelist Pack Duelists of the Pyroxene, which was cancelled in the TCG by Konami for the obvious reason of fuck you, that's why. On to Photon Hypernova, the never-ending story of Albaz support starts us off. First up is a new Albaz Fusion, Grand Guaganol of the Finale Dragon? Something like that. And by Albaz, I of course mean a fusion of Blazing Cartesia, the Virtuous, and any light or dark attribute monster. This new fusion has 2500 attack and defense, and if fusion summon allows you to send a level 6 or higher light or dark monster from your main or extra deck to the grave. The other effect is if a monster is special summoned by an opponent's activated monster effect, you can banish this card from your field or graveyard to either special summon a Dogmatica monster from your main deck or a Despia monster from your extra deck. Seems like a good piece of setup and extension or disruption depending on what it is you can summon, and the artwork is fucking sick. Now that's a dragon. Also in Albaz support is a new fusion with Tri-Brigade monsters. Yes, Lindworm, the Gun Hammer Dragon, being a new piece of support for acquiring Fallen of Albaz material and any Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast type monster. It has the tried and true 1 effect on the field and 1 effect in the grave, and more importantly, it's a negate. Yes, when a Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link monster activates an effect, this card lets you negate that effect and then bounce 1 card on the field back to the hand. 2 disruptions for the cost of 1. Very nice. And it gets better because its grave effect lets you target a Fallen of Albaz in your grave and then special summon Albaz or this card and then banish the other. All as a quick effect. Yep, this seems like a new staple for the deck, I dare say, especially since Tri-Brigade Mercurier is already an easy target for fusion material, or maybe you play Nerval to search a Mercurier for an extra negate. The plays are endless, and Mercurier, I'll never say anything properly, and you can't make me. And speaking of new boss-looking monsters and lore, Tri-Brigade has received a new Link 5 that is an upgrade to Shureg, or at the very least visually. Tri-Brigade arms Brucephalus II? There's no way that's right. That sounds like a name made up by an MBT viewer. Either way, this new Link monster has 3,500 attack and only good Link arrows. It needs 3 or more of the Tri-Brigade type monsters to summon it, and cannot be summoned from your extra deck if you have 2 or less Tri-Brigade spell or traps in your grave. An interesting way to keep it being generically abused, I suppose. Its effect makes it so your opponent can't activate cards or effects in response to the special summon of a monster, and when any monster declares an attack, you can banish this card and all cards the opponent controls. Yep, that's a boss monster effect. The last effect is if it's sent to the grave, it can foolish any Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast type monster from your extra deck to the graveyard. This is an interesting boss monster because that banish is strong, but the need to play Tri-Brigade spell and traps that aren't named exclusively Revolt is more than what most builds are playing to my knowledge. Now, whether that'll be a problem or not, I don't know. I don't really see any of the other Tri-Brigade spell or trap in any capacity, but they've got a bunch, so surely one of them is good other than Revolt. I don't know if this will be seen as an effect that's a win more or a go-to sort of card, but if I had to guess, it won't see a ton of play in Tri-Brigade decks. But at the very least, it has the Bird Man on it, and Twitter has informed me against my will, I should say, that a lot of people are horny for this guy, so at the very least has that going for it. And speaking of going, a lot of you need to go to church. Branded also gets a new trap card, and by branded, I of course mean Bystial, since this deck is super secret, like 5 entire different archetypes all wrapped into one at this point. Either way, the branded Who Guides is a new continuous trap that reads, when the opponent activates a card or effect that would target a Bystial monster, or in response to a Bystial monster's effect, you can banish a light or dark monster from either player's grave to negate that effect. That's right, you respond to me, not only do I negate you, but I'm taking your resources too. I'm gonna banish your cards to negate your cards. You pay for mine, goddammit. Granted, that will only apply if the opponent is playing light or dark monsters and has them in the graveyard, but it is funny to me how good this card can feel in a bubble and just how pushed it is, or at least to me. Still, a good card is a good card, and this one gets the Yugioh Strat seal of why the fuck not. The Light of Branded is a new quick play spell for the deck that returns a fusion monster from either player's graveyard back to the extra deck, and then lets you summon a Fallen of Albaz from your grave to your field, and one opponent's monster from their grave to their field. I don't know what the purpose of this serves exactly, seeing as it just feels like a free plus to the opponent, but I still haven't played Branded as a deck properly, so I'm likely missing something. That, or it's likely to literally just trigger Albaz's effect, which I forget about constantly, to fusion summon with the opponent's monsters. That, I guess, could be what it's meant to do. I guess. At the very least, the art is neat. I guess that means we'll be getting a fusion of Ecclesia and Albaz at some point. I don't know, that's what everyone else is saying. Labrynth also got a new trap card revealed. A normal trap named Big Welcome Labrynth. Isn't that cute? The first effect lets you summon a Labrynth monster from your hand, deck, or grave, and then return one monster you control to your hand. Could be worse, still at least an E-telly of sorts. But the second effect lets you banish it from the grave to target a fiend monster you control and return it to your hand as well. The good part of this effect is that if you control a level 8 fiend when you activate it, you can instead target a monster the opponent controls instead. A situational compulsive sorts, but it is a pseudo E-telly, so I doubt that this is a bad card for the deck. Not to mention, ideally you'd have one of the level 8s on field if I'm not mistaken, and it having Labrynth in the card name means it's a lot more playable than just a compulse. Congrats goes to Labrynth players, my Paleo Frog playing heart is eternally jealous. A new generic sea monster in the Legacy of the Accursed Insect also debuts. This one is Hiding Sea. What a name. A level 7 insect, when the opponent special summons a monster, you can summon this card from your hand in face down defense position, and then it will be flipped up during the end phase. And if it is flipped up during the end phase, it destroys all special summoned monsters on the field, including itself, if I'm not mistaken. It is a funny card, but if the opponent doesn't end on a negate, it'll be a strange day in Yu-Gi-Oh! Still, I do like it. That is some goofy shit to cheese out a board in a casual duel, and I am all for it. Giant Ball Shoot is a new generic insect field spell that reminds me of the ballpark cards from Soul Fusion. That's probably intentional. When activated, it targets any level 6 or lower insect in your grave and summons it as a solid little bit of extension. I like it. The other effect lets you reveal an insect in your hand and then target a face-up monster your opponent controls and an insect you control with less attack than the revealed monster, and you will then switch control of them. The monster you get also becomes an insect, which is cute, I suppose. It requires you to play some real big bugs in the attack stat to be able to get that off, but I find the idea of taking a Baron funny, so I like it. Also, Mantis in a ball cap. Konami, make the plush of it, goddammit. Make the plush of the bug in the ball cap, you fucking cowards. You gave Rescue Rabbit at an exorbitant price in the secondhand market. Give me the bug in the ball cap. And if you're thinking, wow, I wish we had more insects from Photon Nova, it is a great day to be you! Because there are 4 new creepy collies to play with, starting with Perfect Great Insect. Is this the fabled Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth retrain that I've been waiting for? It is a level 9 fusion that needs any level 8 insect and any level 7 insect as fusion materials, and must be fusion summoned, or can be summoned by tributing an insect monster you control with 2000 or more defense that has an equip spell attached. Fuck yes! Fuck yeah! Moth retrain, let's go! So, what does it do? It can't be destroyed by battle, and if there's a face-up field spell in the battle phase, it can quick effect destroy all monsters the opponent controls. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of hoping for more. Why are all the insect fusions just shitty towers? I am underwhelmed, but not horribly disappointed. God, I just wish it was a little bit better. Still, what other toys do we get to play with? Maybe we can recover. Bio Insect Armor is a level 5 that in your hand or grave can equip itself to an insect you control as long as you don't already control a copy of Bio Insect Armor. What it does, it gives the equipped monster 1500 attack and 2000 defense. So it sets up the bug. But it's only in main phase 2 and the battle phase only. So it literally fulfills the needs to summon the fusion monster, but only after the fusion can no longer use its effect to be good for the rest of the turn. Thank you, Konami. I love when you do that. I just fucking love when it makes me so happy when you design cards terribly on purpose. Truly a blow up of monsters, a one-sided Regeki. One-sided Regeki. A Regeki is too strong against the current format. God damn it. Giant Antlion is pretty damn small for a card with giant in its name, a level 3 with 1200 attack and 1500 defense. It can summon itself from your hand when an opponent's monster declares an attack, and if normal or special summoned, can equip an insect from grave to it to give itself 500 attack and defense. Wow. The last effect happens at the start of the damage step, if an insect battles, to target one card on each player's field and pop them. It's like a cute insect scrap dragon that comes out of nowhere in the battle phase. It isn't insanely good by any means, but it's at least funny. Copium? The last bug we've seen is Crown Armorperer Begram. Tree Crown Armor-Perer Begram. What an Armor-Perer, what a name. This level 9 insect cannot be normal summoned or set, and must be special summoned from your hand by banishing 3 insect or plants in your hand and or grave, and can only be summoned once per turn. It prevents the opponent from using monster effects in response to the activation of your spell and trap cards or effects, which is cool, and once per turn it can blow up all non-insect and non-plants on the field, but it cannot attack directly that turn. It's actually pretty solid, and as a 3400 beater in the worst of cases, I like it. Plus, since it can banish plants, this can be a neat tech in a Rika or a Sylvan deck or any plant deck of any kind. I like it. It's not broken by any means, but it's damn cool and solid, and if it stays named Armor-Perer, I get to laugh every time I play it. Overall, these bugs are truly Konami made. Not good enough to be meta, but cool enough looking that I want to play them. Fans of Abyss Actor can also rejoice, as we've seen 4 new cards from Hypernova for the deck, including a new Link monster. It's exciting stuff, maybe. Who knows? Let's find out. Abyss Actor Liberty Dramatist is a new level 4 scale 8 pendulum, whose pendulum effect lets you discard a card when a monster declares an attack to special summon itself to the opponent's field. Don't worry, that's good for this deck, I'm told. Its monster effect makes it so when summoned from the Pendulum Zone, the owner of this card will reveal 3 Abyss Script spells from their deck, and then the opponent will pick 1 to set to their field, with the rest going shuffled back, I believe. But the Abyss Script will be destroyed during the end phase, which again, good for this deck. Its last effect is that if it itself is destroyed, you can shuffle an Abyss Script spell from your graveyard back into the deck. If I'm not mistaken, the owner will mean the person who has it originally in their deck, and it does not mean the controller of the card, like the player who has it on their side of the field. That's because otherwise this card is completely useless, and I cannot see that being the case when they designed it. It's a cool way to proc the Abyss Script's destruction effect in that case, and it's just a shame it really needs a battle phase, I suppose. That's the only downside I can say in regards to this card. The new Link is Abyss Actor Super Producer, and needs any 2 monsters including a Fiend. During the main phase, it can quick effect target and destroy 1 face-up card you control to apply 1 of its 2 effects. Either put the Abyss Actor field spell into your field spell zone, or place an Abyss Actor Pendulum monster from your deck into your Pendulum Zone. Yeah, that seems pretty good to me. Not much to say except it's the field 2 that places the field spell instead of the Link 1 that searches. Truly, card design is evolving. Abyss Actor Dress Rehearsal is the new normal spell card that must be activated at the start of main phase 1. It adds an Abyss Actor card and an Abyss Script spell card from deck to hand, and it locks you into only pendulum summoning Abyss Actors for the rest of the turn. But there's no other sort of lock on what else you might summon non-pendulum wise, so this is effectively a conditionless +1 for the deck, speaking realistically. Abyss Actor Pre-Prep is, I believe, a good card, and there's not much else to say about it. And then there's Abyss Script Dramatic Story. Its activated effect targets an Abyss Actor monster you control, and then special summons an Abyss Actor with a different name from the targeted monster from your deck, and places the targeted monster in either your Pendulum Zone or destroys it. Your choice. Good effect. But wait, there's more. If it's destroyed by an opponent's effect while set on the field and you have a face-up Abyss Actor in your extra deck, you can bounce any 2 cards on the field to the hand. I don't believe that targets, and it very nicely synergizes with that new level 4 to put that monster back in your hand for the next turn. Crazy how the archetypal cards work well together like that. It's almost like it's by design. All in all, the new Abyss Actor cards seem pretty damn solid for the deck, and I don't have much to say beyond that. Thankfully, this isn't a case of multiple waves of bad support from this set, and I, as the bug player, can be disappointed, but otherwise, you'll love to see it. Lastly, from Photon Hypernova is the new wave of Spriggan support. Gigantic's Champion Sargas is a new level 8 Xyz that can be summoned with 2 or more level 8s or once per turn by using any Sprigans Xyz you control, a la the Zodiac monsters or a Zeus summon effect. If it has an Xyz material, you can once per turn add a Sprigans or Therian card from your deck to your hand, and if 1 or more of its materials are detached, you can target 1 card on the field to either pop or bounce it. Nice! An Xyz that does not utilize its materials by itself. Now that is card design. Oh, and something Red Zeus, kind of, or at least that's what it looks like to me. They also got a new quick play spell, Tally-ho, Sprigans! Which must be said like you're pretending to be an old-time actor in a play about the American Revolution or something. Or at least if you want to be that annoying white kid at locals, because let's be real, if anyone's pulling that shit off, it's the white kid who watches way too much Ludwig or something to that effect. When you activate this card, you can choose to also detach up to 3 materials from your Xyz monsters, because the Sprigans Xyz are unionized and do not work for free. This card will then add a Sprigans monster from your deck to your hand, and if you detached any materials from an Xyz when you activated this card, you can summon the same number of Sprigans monsters from your hand or graveyard. Fuck it, ROTA and Soul Charge is a quick play. Why not? And even better, in the grave, you can banish it to target an Xyz monster you control, detach a material from it, and then add this card from your graveyard back to your hand. Yeah, like I said, ROTA Soul Charge seems pretty playable. It's a good card in my books. Their last new card is a normal trap, Gigantic Thunder Cross. It lets you target monsters on the field or in the graveyards equal to the difference in the number of both players' banished cards and then banish them. And then the opponent can special summon 1 monster from their deck. It sucks that it lets the opponent summon for free, but I suppose this can banish 10 cards if the opponent played Desires, so that's a pretty good effect right there. A touch situational to me, but I don't play Sprigans or even know remotely how much banishing they do on their own, so I could just be an idiot when talking about this card. Oh well, at least the Xyz and Spell card are good for Sprigans. And because I can, the new set in the OCG, Selection 5, introduces alternate arts for the Invoked and Evil Twin cards, as well as some new generic cards that just feature art of those archetypes but aren't specifically for them. For the new cards, Leela Wrap is a new continuous spell that, if the opponent summons a monster from their grave, makes the opponent lose 1,000 life points and then you'll gain 500. Apparently, this is a reference to the fact that streamers only get half the donations from streams or something. Sounds like the most Twitch-brained individual's take ever from me, but I get it. It's not all that funny or even remotely playable in the context of the game, but I get it. The other new card is Alpha Summon, a normal trap that targets one of your banished monsters and one of your opponent's banished monsters, and then summons your banished monster to the opponent's field and their banished monster to your field. I don't know what sort of gameplay this card works well in, but it would be funny to see it change to like a Levier the Sea Dragon or something, I suppose. Or if you give them a monster with an effect that'll trigger when it goes to your grave. It's another case of cool art, underwhelming card. Oh well, that is binder fluff. And Red Rose, a new spell that targets up to 2 monsters in the extra monster zone and banishes them until the end phase. Say the line, Dyatlov.
Not great, not terrible.
I'll never get tired of that. This at least lets you target just 1 monster, not mandating you target 2, and even if it isn't a permanent banish, it can sometimes be enough. More than anything, this feels like an easy out to Appaloosa to me, since Appaloosa is almost always in the extra monster zone more often than not. That or it is useless and bad, I suppose. Whatever you feel like screaming about on Twitter. Power to you, folks. And of course, the alt arts. For the horny among us, Evil Twin Leela got this alternate art that reactions from Twitter have shown prove this community has left the light of God entirely. And I do say that as a non-religious person. Or if you don't care for that joke, then I guess all I can say is AWOOOOOOGA! Fucking kill me. And a new alt art for Invocation, showing Alistair going sicko mode and just all around a hard as fuck image. That is a dope new card art, and I like the red in comparison or contrast to the blue of the traditional Invocation spell card. There's a new alt art for Shuzuku that you just have to take my word for, because that's just Ray in the card art in a different pose, and without the link arrow and name, I would not have been able to tell you that this monster was specifically Shuzuku and not just Ray. But it is an alt art, so I'm sure someone's going to enjoy it. And so that'll wrap it up for today's midweek update. That's not what this script should say. And so that wraps it up for today's new card report. Just covering the new cards in this one, the regular update will be out on Friday as usual. Until then, I've been your host, Craig Fee, and make sure you subscribe to Yugioh Strats for this week's update, and so you too can be a true duelist.